Hello my dear friends, my name is Sanne and welcome back to another beauty video. Today we're going to be talking about Japan again. Because by the time you're watching this video, I'll actually be in Japan living my best life. I'll be going for 5 weeks. I've been talking about this for a while, so you probably know already. So yeah, that's the absolute coolest thing ever. I'm so excited. And of course I really wanted to share my interest in Japan and such with you guys as well. And you know, this is a beauty channel. We love beauty, we love makeup over here. And one thing that I find extremely interesting is beauty across the world, how it evolves across the world, the differences, and of course Japan itself. And Japan has an extremely, to me, rich history of beauty and makeup, especially since it's so tied to culture. I don't think it would be the same in the Netherlands, so it's just really interesting to me. So I personally really wanted to dive into the history of Japanese beauty, just also for my own knowledge basically, just because I find it an interesting topic and I'm going to Japan. I just want to be a bit knowledgeable on the culture and the history of culture over there. And since makeup is such an important thing to me, and it is an important thing in the history of Japan, I thought, it would be really interesting to just deep dive into that topic and read a lot of stuff about it. And, look into the topic together for a tiny bit. Because I have been doing my research, I have been gaining a bit of knowledge on the topic, and today I just really wanted to share that knowledge, talk about the topic together for a bit, and just, I don't know, learn a bit about Japanese beauty. So today I'll be doing my makeup inspired by current Japanese makeup trends, for as far as I can find them on the internet, while we discuss some of the history of Japanese beauty through the centuries, and see where the current trends originated basically. So of course, before we jump into it, I want to give a disclaimer that I am absolutely no expert on this topic. This is just internet research that I did and information that I have found myself, and I'm just sharing everything that I have learned from my research on the internet. So if I am off on any of the topics, if I'm saying anything wrong, please do correct me, because I want to learn about the topic. That's why I'm making this video in the first place. So feel free to correct me anywhere. Let's just all have a lovely learning experience together. So let's get started on the makeup look, and then we'll dive into some of the history. So the current makeup trends in Japan are really focused on enhancing your own natural features of your face, and there's a big focus on eyebrows, eyes and blush and a bit of lips, but it's really not like Western makeup where the focus is also on sculpting the perfect face. That's really not the thing in Japanese beauty, so we won't be focusing on any of that. The most everyday makeup is really neutral, soft colors, and it's gonna be really cute. I hope, at least. So everything starts with flawless skin. I already did my skincare this morning, very important, taking good care of your skin, especially when you're wearing a makeup a lot. You gotta double cleanse, hydrate, use SPF, make sure your skin is nice and ready to go. So I already did my skincare. I put on SPF to create a nice base, and now I'm gonna go in with a primer, because we want to make sure that our base is just really nice and even and flawless looking. So I'm going in with the Essence Wanna Be My Honey Primer. So always make sure that your skin is nice and moisturized and ready for a layer of makeup. And then for the base, we want to go in with a really lightweight, light coverage foundation, or possibly even a BB cream if you have it. So I'm going in with the Cica Clearing BB Cream by Purito, and just a tiny bit. We just want to, even out the skin tone a tiny bit, but we don't really want any thick coverage whatsoever. So going off of my research, you can find that makeup has been a very important part of Japanese culture for centuries. A lot of documentation of makeup goes back as far as the Edo period, and even some before that. And especially the unique Japanese makeup traditions that were really unique to the Japanese culture. They started in the Heian period, which ran from 794 to 1185, so quite a big period. hundreds of years ago. Before that, the beauty ideals were based on Chinese beauty ideals and models as well. But from that era on, the beauty ideals really moved away from the Chinese models towards a unique Japanese beauty model. So that is really when the own unique beauty ideals started. But you can find evidence of makeup products being used even back until the year 300, because there's figurines found that already have their faces painted with red pigment, which will remain a very important part of Japanese makeup for years to come. So even back in the year 300, it is thought that people were using makeup to enhance their features. So now we have our flawless base. We do want to go in with a tiny bit of concealer, not too much. In Western makeup, it's really common to use this lighter concealer to also create shape to the face, which is not what we're going to do. We're really going to use it to cover up some blemishes and darker parts. So I want to do some under the eye and then any of the blemishes that I have. So that's basically it, which is a lot less than I usually do. And we're just gonna blend it out a tiny bit. So we already know that the Japanese beauty standards kind of started in the Heian period, but then during the Edo period, which ranged from 1603 to 1867, also a very long period in time, makeup was considered like a really important part of etiquette for women. You were supposed to look presentable and beautiful outside of your home, and it was basically expected of women to wear makeup every single day. You couldn't leave the house without makeup. And the makeup then really made use of three basic colors: red, black and white. The white color was used on the face mainly. Women used white face powder called oshiroi to create beautiful white faces and white canvases basically to work on. And then they would use red pigments to apply to their lips and cheek and their nails even. So that's the white and red. And then you still have the black. But the black color was mainly used to color their teeth black, which is really interesting, I find. And it's basically a symbol of your marital status. Like, as soon as you got married, you would paint your teeth black. And as soon as you got a child, you became a mother, you would shave off your eyebrows. So from your face makeup, it would be clearly visible basically what your status is. Like your family status, your social status, it would be clearly visible off of the makeup on your face. And blackening the teeth, which is a custom called ohaguro, it was a very important like rite of passage for a woman. You would get married, you would get your teeth blackened, and it's basically like, you're a woman now, you're married, nice. And this use of these three colors, red, black and white, would be used for centuries to come, until approximately the start of the 20th century. And you can still find this traditional type of makeup on Geisha and Kabuki theater actors. They still make use of this red, black and white color scheme and the really harsh lines and clear division of makeup. And these types of makeup can take hours to apply, and they take a lot of skill to learn to do them well. So it's really special. And similar to the teeth blackening on women, the makeup styles for Geisha and Kabuki actors, they're used to symbolize something. Let's continue for a tiny bit. We're just gonna powder the face and make sure it's nice and matte. So I am going in with the Essence All About Matte Fixing Loose powder, just making sure our base is nice and even. And then we want to do our eyebrows, and eyebrows in Japan are really focused on the natural shape of the brow. So we're just gonna go in with some eyebrow powder, which I'm using the Essence Brow Powder set, and we're just gonna fill in the shape that I already have. I usually sort of overline my brows to make them the shape that I want them to be, but today we're just gonna fill in the shape that I have. We just want to enhance it a tiny bit basically. So back to the Geisha and the Kabuki actors. Like I said, their makeup really symbolizes something, just like with the teeth blackening. So for a Geisha, you can basically see her training status by the way she paints her lips. If just a part of the bottom lip is painted red, that means she's a Maiko, which is basically a geisha in training, and as soon as she becomes a full geisha, she will also color her top lip. So from her makeup you can see if she's a full geisha or still a geisha in training. And then the makeup styles used by kabuki actors, that's called komadori. And with that makeup style, the different colors and shapes used on the face are used to symbolize a specific character and their emotions. So while watching the theater, you can basically guess what kind of character the person is portraying and what kind of emotion they want to portray just from the makeup that they applied that day. We're just gonna set the eyebrows in place with a tiny bit of brow gel, still going in our natural brow shape. I'm using the Essence Lash and Brow Gel Mascara for that. So we're going for very natural brows, as you can see. And then we want to go in with the eyes, so I'm just going to be applying a tiny bit of primer, using the Milani Eye Primer. Then after the Edo period, we enter the Meiji period, which started in 1868. And this is the period where the teeth blackening process would slowly die out, basically. It was banned in some parts of the country, and after the empress at the time would stop doing it herself, most women would follow suit eventually. So this traditional type of makeup would basically die out in this era. And this is also the era when Japan would open up a lot more towards other countries. And they would open up a lot towards Western influences and technologies as well. They wanted to get the same Western technologies, but that would also mean that the makeup produced was a lot more expensive. So during this Meiji era, the production of cosmetics would be extremely expensive. So it would just the use of cosmetics was basically isolated towards the upper class. So while a few hundred years ago women were expected to wear makeup every single day, now the upper class would basically be the only people actually wearing makeup, because it was just not feasible for the lower class. And this is also the time that the predecessors of very important makeup brands that still exist today would start up. So for example, the predecessor of Shiseido would start up in this era. Okay, for my eyeshadow, I'm going into the Cherry Love palette by Flower Nose, because it has some really cute pinky tones, which are very popular right now, especially muted neutral tones and pink tones are really popular. And we want to go in with a smaller brush and a bit of a deeper shade. I'm going into this center shade. Put that around the edge, the upper and lower edge. And then I'm gonna blend it out with a bit of a lighter pink tone. So at the start of the 20th century is where we go from the Meiji period into the Taisho period. This one ranged from 1912 to 1926. And during this period, the makeup style would change quite a bit, and it would be more focused on everyday type of easy use makeup, because this is the time period where women would enter the workforce and they really needed makeup that they could easily apply in the morning. And this also introduced new makeup colors to the scene, because where we've still been using red, black and white mainly, women wanted something a bit more accessible and easy to apply in the morning. So the powder shades would change. Instead of just having white powder, we would now have skin tone powder in a few different shades. And instead of red pigment for the lips, we would have a bit of a pinkish tone, for example. The shade availability would really change around this period, and makeup would just become a lot less like a cultural process and more of like a regular everyday thing. And it became more of a social thing instead of a way to express your status, basically. So now I'm going to go in with a shimmer, so I'm going into this one. And I'm going to apply that to the center of the lid over here. I might want to go in with another one that's a bit more sparkly, because you know I love sparkles. I'm also going to apply it a bit to the lower lash line. So the focus is basically around the center of the eyes. I'm also gonna go in with the Into You Boom eyeshadow in the shade 4, because this is a nice sparkle. So with most of the eyeshadow done, looking a bit messy, but I think it's cute. And now I'm gonna go in with a brown eyeliner. That's what's really popular in Japan nowadays, especially for everyday makeup. Just keep the tones really, really soft and cute, and it's gonna be nice. So I'm going in with a brown liner, and I'm gonna do a puppy dog liner, so a bit more downwards and rounded instead of a really sharp cat eye. So another big reason for the changes in makeup styles at the beginning of the 20th century was the introduction of more Western media into the country. People were a big fan of Hollywood, and this would just increase throughout the entire 20th century basically. So we're getting a great mix of traditional Japanese makeup, combining it with the Western makeup trends at the time. In the 1960s, the focus of the makeup would really change, because where the focus before was really on the white, lovely powdered face, it would now change to something more focused on the eyes and the lips. Again, mainly inspired by the Western influences. And throughout the 1970s, more and more Western trends would just sweep the nation, basically. Like, for example, the trend of really, really strong eyebrows throughout the 70s and focus on eyebrows and eyeshadow. So the focus of makeup would change a lot throughout the 20th century, basically. And the Westernization of the makeup trends in the country would bring back some of the traditional ideals of wanting to have great pale skin, basically, the white skin from the Edo period. So a lot of more modernized cosmetics that would come out around that time would be focused on skin lightening, for example. So now that we have our eye makeup done, we're gonna curl the lashes, add a bit of mascara, and add a bit of a lash, because they're really big about false lashes in Japan. Really excited about it because I want to buy some over there. So I just want to add like a nice soft little bit of a natural everyday type of lash. So that's what we're gonna do. Just gonna curl the lashes quickly. So one thing that I found really interesting was around 1985, there was a period where male cosmetics would really make a comeback. A lot of men would be wearing makeup. And this was mainly due to the new law for equal employment of men and women. And this is what I found really interesting, because women started to change their makeup style to be maybe even a bit more masculine, you could say. They would, for example, focus on really thick eyebrows to create a more masculine look, to show their strong will to work in a male society. And basically to help this like almost social political statement with makeup, some of the men followed, and they tried to also create a more masculine look on themselves with makeup. And I just found this really interesting, because there was, of course, in a lot of Western history as well, there has been a lot of history of men wearing makeup like centuries ago. But nowadays, makeup, of course, is seen as something traditionally feminine. During the Muromachi period, that started in 1333, a lot of upper class men had actually been wearing makeup in that time. But then due to the Westernization in the 20th century, that would all basically fade away. So I just find it really interesting that such socio-political conflict basically would bring back the tradition of men wearing makeup just for at least for a few years. I found that pretty interesting. Okay, so I applied the Rival Loves Me eyelashes in the style Naturally number 2. So we just have a nice, natural, everyday kind of lash going on. So now we're gonna go into blush, because blush is a very important part of the makeup as well. We have some very soft, neutral, everyday kind of makeup going on, but we want to add blush. And popular colors are like pink tones and coral tones, like brighter shades that are still soft and a bit natural. So I'm going into the Colourpop Super Shock Cheek Matte in the shade No Vacancy, because I think it's a really fun corally color and I think it fits this look very well. And you want to apply this like straight to the apples of your cheeks. Like not even the apples, like we're going right underneath the eye. Going a tiny bit outwards, but we're mainly going underneath the eye. And then a tiny bit to the tip of your nose. And the reason we're applying it this way is this is called the Ikari style, which basically means flushed or drunk style. So it just, you know, make your cheeks look nice and flushed, like a natural flush basically. This is just one of the popular blush styles from what I've seen on the internet. And then for the lips, I'm just first applying some lip balm to keep, again, the base hydrated and smooth. And then we're going for like soft, bright, cutesy lip colors. So again, soft pinks, corals, whatever. So you can do some lipstick in a fun color, apply a clear gloss on top, or you can just go in with a gloss that has a bit of color. So I'm going into the Essence Extreme Plumping Shine Volume Extreme Shine Volume Lip Gloss in the shade Coral Glow. You can also go in with a lip tint, which are very, very popular in Japan. But I don't have any, because I'm gonna buy one in Japan. And from traditional makeup, the lips really weren't like with Western makeup nowadays. You would overline the lips a lot. With the traditional makeup, they wouldn't do that a lot. I'm pretty sure they would even make the lips appear a bit smaller. I don't know if that's the case still nowadays. But I don't think I've seen a lot of overlining because we want to keep the lips like nice and natural a bit. So I think that would be cute. So emphasis of the look is really on the eyes, cheeks and lips, really not on the skin. There is no contouring going on whatsoever. We're really not trying to create a different face shape. We just want to bring out our natural features. And this is a sort of modern, natural Japanese makeup look. So nowadays in Japan there are of course a lot of different makeup styles going on, you know, there's a lot of creativity, freedom with makeup. So there's a lot of different styles. We have this Igari style makeup, and it ranges basically from the no makeup look to everyday type of makeup, looking a bit more like a doll, for example, creating big eyes. And you can even go like full colorful Harajuku style, and basically everything in between. So some popular makeup styles nowadays are Ulsang, Gyaru and Ganguro. And as you can see, all of these styles are just so different in between. And it's just really interesting how the styles from the past, like the history of the makeup, influences these type of makeup nowadays. Because nowadays still the flawless light skin is really appreciated, which of course goes back to the completely powdered white skin from previous centuries. And when you have a style like Ganguro, they still make use of the thick black eyeliner that you can also see in, for example, the Kabuki theater makeup style. Even though the styles have become very modern and even a bit westernized throughout the 20th century, they still appreciate and make use of their traditional makeup styles, which I think is very, very cool. And most women in Japan still wear makeup on almost a daily basis. It is still some sort of form of etiquette to want to present nicely. There's even specific powder rooms available in a lot of public spaces where women can just go and touch up their makeup during the day, because you want to keep your makeup looking flawless throughout the entire day. And the Japanese cosmetics industry is one of the biggest in the world. You can see that makeup is just a really, really important part of Japanese culture, like going back in time, but also still nowadays. And I find it so intriguing that Japanese makeup has been so tied to its culture throughout the centuries. I think is less the case in more Western countries. Like I feel like looking at my country, I don't think we have a traditional makeup style. I could be wrong though. I really need to look into that because that might be interesting. But I don't know of any like traditional Dutch makeup styles or makeup usages. And I think it's really, really fun and intriguing that Japan does have that entire history of makeup behind it. And I also think it's so interesting that even though the world is so connected nowadays, like with the internet, the whole world blends together a tiny bit, but you still have such different makeup styles throughout different countries. They all have their own way of doing like their everyday kind of makeup, because this is different from what Dutch people wear, for example. And the way people use their makeup is a lot different. Even though countries are so connected and the styles seem to blend a tiny bit, still countries have their very own specific makeup style, and I find that very, very interesting. So this is the finished makeup look. We have discussed what I can find, a short summary of the history of Japanese beauty and cosmetics throughout the centuries. I hope you enjoyed diving into this topic with me today. I don't want to go too in depth and create like a 2-hour video, so this is really just a summary of what I can find basically. And I just think it's nice that I'm a bit like knowledgeable on the topic before I'm actually going to Japan. So I think that's just really fun to do. If there's any important stuff that I missed, please let me know. I am here to learn as well. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. If you want to see even more from me, my blog, my socials, and my Instagram where I post makeup looks are all linked down below, so you can check that out as well. And that's gonna be it for me today. And I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Toodles! Also, quick update. I'll be in Japan right now and I'll be posting once a week instead of twice a week because I had to pre-film so much. So just so you know, there will be one video a week for the next couple of weeks until I'm back from Japan. Just so you know. Bye!